Hi, my name's Megan. I'm a therapist and coach, and you're listening to Career Congregation Podcast. I created this podcast to inspire people in their careers. After spending hundreds of hours working with clients, one thing I noticed that so many people have in common is just how many people truly don't enjoy their work, or worse, hate what they do every day. I created this podcast to help people start to make changes in their everyday life so they too can find work they love. Every week, I speak with people who've made changes, taken risks, or built careers in ways that feel meaningful to them. These conversations are here to offer real-life inspiration, perspective, stories, and practical ideas you can apply in your own life, whatever your industry or whatever career stage you're at. If you enjoy these interviews and are curious about what it's like to work with me one-to-one, you can find details of how to work with me in the show notes. Thank you and enjoy. Hello. Welcome everyone to today's episode of Career Congregation. This is the last episode of season 2, episode 50. We are joined today by Tori DaCosta, who is the author of No Name Bastard.
I got you, Megan. It's how our lives teach us what we can control, manage, and influence.
There we go. Perfect. Tori joins us today from North Carolina, where I also am, actually. So when we connected, we agreed to dial in when we were in the same place in the same time zone, which is very exciting because that doesn't happen very often with many of my guests. So welcome, Tori. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so when you came across Career Congregation, what was it that you thought, wow, this is like the perfect platform for me to talk about my book? What drew you to the podcast?
Well, you talk about inspiration and life changes, and my book is all about that, right? So the funny thing is I'm very much in a transition myself, and I was when I wrote the book. And folks were saying things to me like, Tori, you must be crazy for writing a book right now. And, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? And honestly, Megan, I didn't even consider that because the reward of helping people far outweighed any risk. So it was a non-factor. I was like, we're doing it. We're going for it.
Yeah, and I also find with the podcast that the fact that I launched it when I was like just beginning this crazy journey that is still ongoing and will be for a while for me, it's kind of become like my anchor. And so it's like my weekly, it's like a weekly practice for me, if you will, where I sit down and I interview people and it sort of reminds me, it's like my anchor for why I do what I do, So I love connecting with people on that.
Yes.
That
And
same.
it gives you a powerful platform to impact other people, right? Because of course I've listened to some of your episodes and I think about your podcast is doing exactly what I'm doing with the book, right? You get in front of people and you start a conversation. And the beautiful thing about the book is because some of the content, I think for folks, is inspiring, is challenging, is heartwarming, is tragic, whatever range of emotions they have, but they get to do it in private. All right. And that's the beauty of this medium. You're in a space by yourself and you can have your feelings, you can go through and you can have those transformational experiences.
Yeah, completely. So can you tell us a little bit more about you, Tori? What is your cultural background, upbringing, and some of your early influences, specifically around career, but just early days, Tori?
Yes, well, I know you have an international audience, and everyone can hear that I'm very American, my accent.
Yeah.
So, depending on where you are, I'm not quite Southern, but I live in the South, so there may be a few words where you pick up on that. But
Oh,
I'm a
that's okay.
transplant, so I'm originally from New York,
Okay.
born and raised there, and my family moved to North Carolina when I was, still in grade school. And it was very transformative because it almost felt like I was living in two different worlds culturally, right? The Northeast New York is very different than North Carolina. But by the time I was in the sixth grade, I'd already gone to multiple schools. So I had to learn how to navigate different personalities,
Yeah.
different friend groups, sometimes teachers who, weren't always kind or pleasant to new students coming to their classroom. So I learned how to adapt quickly in new environments. And that served me well even as an adult because I'm constantly dealing with change or having to, be in new environments with people that I'm not familiar with. And you have to build relationship and connection quickly. And that's worked out well for me throughout my life.
Yeah, I think that that's such a good life skill. I know that moving can be hard on young people, but the resilience and the adaptability that young people learn from those experiences, you carry it with you throughout your life. I
Yeah.
absolutely reinforce
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I talk about some of the experiences in the book. And honestly, Megan, if someone had asked me to write this book 5 years ago, I could not have done it. I didn't have the confidence.
Hmm.
Even though I was a confident person, I didn't have that level of confidence, right? And very, very private. So I got to a point where I just knew that my purpose was greater than what I was living and I needed to do something differently. But I share that because some of those hard and challenging experiences early in life shaped who I am as an adult. But I talk about many of them in the book. And the only reason why I do that is so that the reader can reflect upon their own experiences and then learn from them and become the best version of themselves. Like probably one of the craziest things, and there's several experiences in there. But
Yeah.
one of the craziest things was me learning at age 18 that the name I had been using my whole life was not the correct name. Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
How? What, your first name or your last name?
My last name.
Okay. How have
Yeah.
you been, or is it a spoiler? Do you not want to say?
Let's do it. Let's spoil
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Because people may be interested. So, what they'll learn when they read the book is that I got married when I was 18. And I think for a lot of folks, they're
Wow,
like,
that's
yes, it's
very
like,
young.
yeah. Now they'll be happy to know I'm still married to that same man.
Okay.
We
Okay.
like each other, right? So it's pretty cool.
Oh, you're one
But
of those lucky people.
lucky, blessed, takes a lot of work. He's a good man, all the above. But with
Yeah.
that being said, I go to change my name for, my social security card, and they would not accept the document that I used to try to change my name. Now, granted, I've been using this document my whole life. I use it to get into schools. I use it to get a driver's license. I go to get a new social security card. They would not accept it.
What
So
what document? Your birth certificate?
I thought it was my birth
Oh,
certificate. I quickly learned that it was not my birth certificate.
was it?
Yes, it was a document that looked like a birth certificate, but it was a photocopy. And for whatever reason, people were just they would let me use it, right? So I get to Social
Well, I
Security.
imagine people are inherently a bit lazy, so I think probably most people just didn't bother to do the due diligence to
They
realize
were
that it
like,
was an official
"Hey,
document.
it has the right words on it. Let's just go
Yeah,
with it, right?"
looks like a birth certificate. Yeah.
It'll pass. So I get to, the Social Security office to change my name, and they're like, "No, that's not going to fly here."
No.
So I end up going to the actual office to get a new birth certificate, and I recount all this in the book, but I'm standing at the counter with the woman, and we're going back and forth, and I'm telling her my name, and she's like, "There's no one in the system with that name. I cannot give you a birth certificate." And I'm like, "I was born in this state. I can tell you where I was born. I have to be there." And she was like, "You're not here." So she starts asking me for my father's last name. And I'm going back and forth with her again. I don't have my father's last name. She's like, "What is your father's last name?" When I tell you we were like two bulls locking horns, I didn't want to say it. And she was like, "I can't help you unless you do." So finally, out of frustration, I was like, "Well, here's his name, but it's not my name, so let's just move on." And I didn't even realize, Megan, she was still typing. She was like, "Got you, here you are." And I was shocked.
Oh,
I
wow.
was shocked. So all my life, I'd had my father's last name,
Okay.
but didn't realize it.
So what was the relationship between your mother and your father at that point?
They were not married.
Yeah. Were they
Yeah.
in communication?
Oh yeah. I mean, we would talk to him. Yeah. But no one ever said, Tori, that's not your last name.
That that is not a fun way to find that out.
No. And it was so
Did
crazy
was
because,
your mother not aware of that?
well, I will tell you, I've asked questions about this. I'm still a little fuzzy on the details. But there was a story with we went to court to get it changed, and I don't know how the story ended. But however it ended, I still had his last name and not her last name. And she and my sister had the same last name. So I remember standing in front of that woman. I felt like someone hit me, like the
Yeah.
wind was knocked out of me. My whole life, I'd used a name that I thought was mine, but it wasn't. And I think that the saving grace in that moment, Megan, finding it out the way I did was I was changing my last name anyway. Right? So that kind of helped to soften the blow because it was like, well, you're getting ready to use a different last name.
Yeah.
So it helped me to move past the shock a little bit more quickly. But when I tell you I
That's still a
did,
shock.
yeah, like identity, I felt like my legs went weak in that moment, and you're standing there in public and there's people and I'm going back and forth with this woman. So, needless to say, the book we talk about identity, we talk about lessons in hard moments, and I'd already had a pretty hard moment prior to that. So, unfortunately, the feeling was familiar and I was able to recover a little bit more quickly that time. But yes, there were tons of experiences in that book. Again, like I said, people may not have had the same experience that I have because most people don't use the wrong name, right? But even still, like frustration, shock, like these are human experiences, so they can glean from my lessons and then use them to tap into their own.
Yeah, well, I mean, like from a therapy perspective, right? Everyone's experiences are different, but the emotions
Yes.
that we feel, like the emotions that are evoked in us from these experiences, those are very human, and it's how we can all relate to each other, right? And this is very akin, actually. I can't believe how similar it sounds to like I know people, and I've worked with people in the past who are adopted and adoption and didn't know, right? Finding out something like that when you're a grown up is like it is the rug is pulled out from underneath you, right? So it's like a total rock bottom, and that is it's a different identity. It's like exactly what you
Right.
said. It's like you thought you were someone, and then it's completely different. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, what an experience. And I know, I mean, obviously divorce is so big now, and I know it's like a really big thing with what name the kids get. And I
Yeah.
see a lot of that because like, I mean, it's like 50% chance of getting divorced now. Like if you get married, it's only 50-50, and it's always like, what last name should the kids have? Should it be a
Yeah.
hyphenated situation? Like it's a thing. But I mean, yeah. So I imagine that probably anger was one of the overriding emotions that came up from that experience.
Yeah. Anger, confusion.
Were you,
And
I mean,
again,
who were you even mad at? Were you mad at your
I
mother,
just,
father?
I didn't understand why. I'm like, I just kept asking myself, how does that happen? Like, how is that possible? Like, it was, I was a little bit flabbergasted just because, again, I'd used that document for so many years. However, when I go back, and I still have the document, it's like a memento now.
So what, how does that work with like your social security number and your driver's license? Like,
Yes. Well, the good thing
what a
is once I got married and all of it changed anyway, they were like, well, this is who you are moving forward, and like I said, um, he and I are we haven't been a victim of the 50%, so we're okay. Like my
yeah.
name hasn't
Yeah,
changed.
but still to change it, you have to change it from what it was to the new thing, and what it was wasn't what it was.
Yes.
So does
Yes.
that mean that your driver's license and your social security number were never valid before then?
Well, fortunately, they didn't erase me like I didn't exist.
Okay. I'm like, like, wow, this is like a
Yeah.
Born Identity movie. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I probably should have like picked up a cool alias or something, but what's funny, they don't do it anymore just because of cutting costs. But there was a time in America where they would send you your like social security statement with your projected earnings, when you got to the age when you could get social security. And another funny story, I don't talk about it a lot in the book, but I do kind of touch on it. I was a child model. So my working years
Surprised.
start back like it's like child labor. It's like, why were you working so young?
Yeah.
Right? But I share that because when I look at the Social Security statement, you see this track record of work history that starts at a very young age with one name, and then it moves through and it changes to another name. It's just like quick blip, very quick blip, where you see the name that was actually my name that I did not know, and then it switches to my married name. So it's kind of funny to look at it because it looks like I've been married multiple times, but just
Wow.
once.
Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty early like bump to experience at the beginning. That definitely will have played a large part in sort of shaping your identity going
Oh yeah,
forward. Yeah, I mean
absolutely.
literally and emotionally though, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was, and I think probably the most jarring part was because I have such a close relationship with my mother and my sister. For a split second, I just kept thinking like we never had the same last name.
Yeah.
All those years, like you grew
I
up in the
never
house.
had the same last name as them ever, and you never will. Well, probably not.
Yeah. That's true. So when I thought I had it, I didn't, and then when I got the name that was legally my name, I changed it. So it's just, but thankfully, I didn't stay in that space for long because again, like I said, I'd had other shocking moments, and I was very excited about the chapter I was going into. So I didn't feel down, just a
Yeah, and
shock.
I mean, like, no one was harmed, right? It's a
That's the good
confusing
part.
piece of information to discover, but it's like no one was harmed in that process.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes.
yeah.
And I'm,
Yeah.
I'm actually glad that I learned it when I did and not got too far along in life and then realized, oh, I was using the wrong name. That might have been a much bigger issue.
Yeah, completely. So that was 18. So to be married at 18, what was your professional existence at that point?
Student.
Okay. So
Yeah.
at university or like I just finished high school,
Yeah,
18?
I had gone to university. That's where I met my husband.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't want to take too much time telling that story, but it's almost like, and this is going to sound so bizarre, corny, whatever word you want to say, but we just knew, right? When we had that type of connection where we knew, and I'm gonna say we got it right because again, we're still together. But it was very obvious that he and I were going to be together, and we just made it official.
Oh, that's so nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So that was in New York.
No, that was actually in North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what was the like what was your early work sort of experiences and like that led you to kind of where you are now?
Oh, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've already talked about the modeling, right? Like that was
Yeah,
a
that's
whole.
very early work experiences. Most people don't have children experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if anyone, I have not taken the time to do it just because I don't have the time, but I was on quite a few episodes of Sesame Street
Oh,
and they're cycling and I don't have time to sit down and, find the episodes, but my husband's like, you should do that one day. And I was like, that probably won't ever happen. We'll just know it's out there in the world and be thankful.
do you
But
know which episodes?
I don't.
In case any viewers are like, oh, I
Don't.
want
But I will tell you, okay, all of those shows are amazing, but as a kid, when you watch the show and you just like you love it, right? So then
yeah.
you're on the set and there's humans. So if your children are listening, have them walk out the room because I'm getting ready to ruin their TV shows for them. But there are humans, as we know as adults, inside of the puppets. So I come on the set, you have Oscar the Grouch, you have Big Bird, Bert, Ernie, all the Cookie Monster, everyone loves Cookie Monster. And then the moment the director yells cut, like the human stands up and the puppet literally just goes flat, like a sock. And it is, you want to talk about traumatic, then you don't want to watch this show anymore. So yeah, I would venture to say all the children that were ever on the show stopped watching it after they were
Yeah,
on the show. That just killed all the joy.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not running anymore, is it? I don't think
I
so.
don't know. I don't know. I don't have any small children anymore, so
Yeah, I feel like everyone watches like animation stuff now
yes,
anyway.
that's the big thing now. But you were asking me about my career, so I sidetracked on that just for fun, but
But that's a good nostalgic piece. Yeah.
yes. But when my husband and I got married, I was still in school. I was working some jobs, and then as what happens, when we were children, we would sing this song. At least where I grew up in New York. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby in the baby carriage, right? So the baby started coming, and I decided to pull out of the workforce and primarily be a stay-at-home parent. So I taught some classes on the weekend for the National Safety Council, but my primary role was a stay-at-home parent. And then I started a fitness business because I absolutely love fitness. I just, it's how I'm built. My daughter got me to run the Chicago Marathon last year. I never thought I would do that. I wasn't in love with fitness at that level.
Yeah.
However, I told her yes, and I committed to another one this year. So you all got me on tape, on camera. I said I'm doing another one.
Oh,
Um,
accountability. You got to do it
yes, yes. I will be training every morning, running. Um, but the family was the primary focal point, right? And then I have the fitness business, and that was going well. And I woke up one morning, Megan, and I was bored out of my mind. I
now.
was like, I cannot do this anymore. And I think people have those moments
Yeah.
transitionally, right? Like career wise, if you're doing something and it's not fulfilling, it's not challenging, it's not connecting, you don't have alignment. And I knew it was authentic because I was training my favorite client. I mean, this man was phenomenal. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore.
I think you also get to a point where you like you've done what you can do in that industry, right? Because I used to
Yeah.
teach yoga, and I never took it to like a super. I taught and I had
Mhm.
regular classes and stuff, but it was a couple years in, and I was like, I just don't see myself doing this for the rest of my life. I will
Yeah.
do yoga personally for the
Mhm.
rest of my life, but I also find with fitness instruction specifically, it takes the joy out of it. And I was like, I don't get to do yoga for fun anymore. And I think
Right.
when you start to work in an industry where it's something that you really love, it can kill your joy for it. Because when I was much younger as well, I was, as many people in university do, you have your stint in hospitality, which is definitely not, my dream job to like, but I love food and I love wine. And so at university, there was a couple different restaurants I worked at that, just had amazing food and amazing wine. And I really enjoyed the education that I got
Mhm.
from doing that. But like, God, all you need to do is work at a restaurant for like a month and you will hate that place. Like, get it out of your system really quickly.
Yes. So I was going to ask you if working there made you no longer like it. And you said that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, no, well, no, I didn't.
Did you still enjoy the food? Like even working there, did you still
No,
want to
after
eat the
it,
food?
once you work in a place, you don't want to eat like in a restaurant
Exactly.
or a bar.
Yeah.
You don't want to eat
Yeah.
there again. Yeah, not that there was not that it was like a bad places where like I saw horrible things happen in the kitchen.
Hmm.
You just get sick of the food, and that's all
You
there is
don't
to
even want
it.
to smell it anymore because
Yeah.
you've been in it all the time. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to a point and it's like it's almost like mastery as well though. It's like what's the
Hmm.
progression now? Right? Like I'm
Yes.
like who am I trying to be? I wanted to be a yoga instructor. I am a yoga instructor. Where do I go from here? Right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah.
And that's what it was for me. I started to feel like I was folding towels, right? Like I was just like, it was wash, rinse, repeat. And as much fun as it was to see people transform from, whatever their body type and their body shape was to, achieving their goals and looking and feeling phenomenal, that was very rewarding. But it just got boring. So I needed more mental stimulation. And that's how I ended up in the insurance and financial services industry. Now, I did the fitness thing for like 5 years because I progressed from different levels of training there. But I knew I needed something that was a little bit more or a lot more mentally stimulating. And I've been in that industry for over a decade now. But
Okay.
here's the thing, as much variety and challenge as it offers, there was still an itch for more.
Yeah.
And I think most people, they will realize if they're, and if they're in a space where they're not, I won't say they're discontent, but they don't feel like they're fulfilling their purpose.
Yeah.
And for me, that's where the book came in and the opportunity to do something that was totally different than what I was doing, right? To impact people and touch lives in a different way. And honestly, to be vulnerable in a way that I had never been. That conversation you and I just had about my name, that's the first time I've talked about that out loud. I mean, it's in the book, so people can read it,
Yeah.
but it's not something I've ever talked about. So being able to share those experiences with people in the world. And what's been beautiful, Megan, is how many folks have come to me and said things like, Tori, I read your book and I forgave my parents. Or Tori,
Wow.
I couldn't understand why, it was important for my daughter to have a relationship with her father. I just could not understand it. And I read your book and now I get it. Or I picked up the phone and called a friend I hadn't talked to in years, and we don't even remember why we were mad at each other, but the animosity melted away. I mean, story after story. One woman told me she checked out on life, and she said, Tori, I read your book, I got to chapter 4, and I checked back in.
Oh.
And again, there's no way I could do that from the chair I was sitting in, in the insurance and financial services industry. But as an author, I can do that. I can
Yeah.
impact lives and help people in that way.
Yeah, and it's very well, it's a level of processing that occurs through writing, right? And I have clients, I tell them to find a medium that works for them because some people are like, "Oh, I'm not a writer." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, that's not your thing." You can voice note yourself and listen back to it, but it's about getting it out and then taking it back in, right? So you release it and then you read it or whatever, but in doing that, it's an additional level of processing. So if you can't,
Absolutely.
go to therapy and have someone hear you and see you and repeat it back to you, then this is how you can do it on your own. And it's very much these big things that we don't want to talk about or that we don't share with very many people. That's why it's so healing for writers. When you write the book, you're like outing your shadows kind of, and there's so much personal growth that comes from that.
I agree. And something else interesting happened. I'd be curious to know if you've experienced with some of your clients, but once I wrote the book, anytime you're writing a book, you have to go through editing. So there's editing and editing and editing. And I remember, and of course I'm rereading it. My husband was my first editor because I was like, hey, you need to listen to this chapter. Tell me, like, are you able to see the picture? Is it landing well on you? Is there anything else that I need to make more clear? And as I kept reading it, the emotions that were so raw when those things first happened, they became more distant, right? It felt more like watching it versus being in it.
Yep.
And that alone made a big difference.
Yeah, so that I would refer to that as like being emotionally charged, right? So therapies that are like EMDR processing therapies, which is good for like people with PTSD, is that you go in you re-experience the memory and then you revisit it in the next session, and it's a lot like it still happened, right? Especially, you know,
Right.
someone PTSD, like it can be a memory of war or like rape or something horrible, and they can
Hmm.
sit with it again the week later and they're like just kind of like flat about it. They're like, oh yeah, like that happened, but it doesn't make them cry. It doesn't make them
Right.
yeah, and it's because they've processed it. You
Yeah.
actively process it and going, you visit it one more time, do the things, and then you can kind of release it. And it's still there, but it doesn't hold the same power over you that it
Hmm.
did before. So that's why when people shut things, bottle it up, it just
Yes.
makes it, it just builds inside you. You just got to let it out, however that looks. And it looks different for everyone. Whatever works
Yeah.
best for you is going to work differently for me and for the next person, you know?
Yes, well, I have personal experience with the bottling it up piece, and I also talk about that because I did not speak to my father for 3 years. And when we finally had our first conversation after that, it was an explosion. So I know firsthand that trying to suppress and bottle emotions is so unhealthy.
Mm,
And the beauty of going through the process, right? Like talking about the things, writing them, is I can clearly identify emotions. I know exactly what I'm feeling when I'm feeling it. So that's really helpful for me to process and manage and mitigate in the moment, whatever that situation is. But the other piece of it is it's easier for me to talk about it
yeah.
because I've been through that, and that's part of the reason why I had the framework in the book, the control, manage, and influence, because once people can even just go through that mental model and know what category something should fit in as far as how they're processing it, it can remove so much frustration. Because if I'm trying to control something that I can truly only influence, then I'm just banging my head against the wall all day. There's no winning.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. Yeah. So when you first got like the whisper to write a book, what was that first sort of seed, that first thought? How did that come to you?
Oh my goodness, you phrased that so perfectly, the first whisper, because I have to tell you, that's exactly what it felt like. And I remember thinking, what would I write a book about? And I said to myself, I don't have a story.
Everyone has a story.
You are so right, Megan. So I sat down quietly. I have, I have my quiet time. I sat down and I said, wait, I do have a story. And the first story that came to my mind is chapter 3 of the book. So the book started with chapter 3 and then was kind of built from there, but that's where it started.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to read chapter 3 now. But yeah, the whispering, I chose that phrase specifically because I do so much career change work with people, and it's always a whisper at the beginning, or it'll be like they'll say it and they'll be like, "Oh no, but I can't do that." Or like, and it's they and you know, months of work, and then they come
Yeah.
back and it's always that first thing. It's like, you know,
Yes.
all along, but you talk yourself out of it, or you think it's unrealistic, or like your sister doesn't think it's a good idea, or blah blah blah, blah. And it's like, no, but that's the first thing you said. Is it's the same with like multiple choice, right? They say never change your answer because most
They
of the time
do.
you're
They
right,
do.
like you know all along. And it's when
Yes.
people are like, yeah, I think like I really think I kind of want to work in like this industry. Oh, but I'm not going to blah 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 blah. I'm always like those whispers. That's the exact terminology I use with my clients. I always say they're not going to get any quieter.
I love that verbiage. It is
Yeah,
good. Yes.
they just get louder and louder until they're screaming at you, or you have a rock bottom moment so that you literally can't ignore it anymore. So it's
And
good that
how
you listen to it.
it's so beautiful. First, I love that you're capturing it that way, but the fact that that whisper will not let go, right? Like that is speaking to
Because
your
it's what you're
purpose.
supposed to do.
Yes, your purpose, your identity, all those things that are so important, and you just can't ignore it.
Even if it doesn't make sense, if
I
no
know.
one around you understands it, it's like, I don't know, I just have to do this thing, you know? It's like
Yeah,
Noah's Ark type story.
there you
What are you
go.
doing? I don't know, but I gotta build this
You're
boat.
just gonna build it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when you're in touch with yourself, even if the things are really weird, you just do what you feel that you know that you need to do on a deep soul level, and
Yeah.
eventually you'll understand why you had to do it.
100%. And I'm actually I'm a person of faith, so very prayerful with decision making.
Hmm.
And again, like so much of it for me is being quiet, like quiet in the mind. And we have so many distractions in our world. I mean, between the phone, between the television, and now you can watch whatever you want, whenever you want. You can stream it. Like when I was a kid, you had to wait for it to come on TV and make sure you were sitting there at that time, right? Everything, you can have whatever you want, whenever you want, no delay. And because we can constantly go after things, it is challenging for us to remember to sit down and stop and just pause, like literally pause and feel what we're feeling, think what we're thinking, and be cognizant of that, because there's always something trying to grab and pull our attention so that we're not. And I think a lot of people, because they're not in touch with what they're feeling and what they're thinking, oftentimes they're running, and they're moving in the direction that they think they should move, or someone told them they should move, and they're not really connected or aligned to who they are. And they're paying the price for it. They're paying for it either in their health, in their relationships, and in general dissatisfaction with their life and the world. And if more of us would just slow down and get in tune with who we really are, how we're really built, and what we really want in this life, I think this whole earth would look very different.
Yeah, I completely agree. I wrote a blog like 2 years ago called Just Sit With It. That
Yes.
was what I titled it. It's so basic. It's so basic. But I have so many people that come for therapy, and it's so hard for them. And so I was like, this is a real, I mean, it's like a societal thing. But the amount of feedback when I published that blog and like
Mhm.
told so many of my friends, they were like, what are you going to call it? And I was like, just sit with it. And they're all like, ugh. Like visceral. And I'm like, oh my God. I've been doing this work for so long, and I also like I was a yoga student,
Yes.
for like a decade, right? And I've been a meditator for like 12 years now, like daily
Oh, awesome.
meditation. So I'm very comfortable in my own space, in solitude. I hardly ever turn the TV on. I have all notifications off on my phone
Good for you.
always. People
Yes.
are like, I'm trying to, what's wrong with your phone? And I'm like, nothing. I turned off my notifications because
Yes.
my energy is not available 24/7 for people to like,
I love that.
I check my messages when I'm ready to check my messages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
it's like, that is so strange for so many people. They like can't get their heads around it.
I love it. I love it. I kind of have this philosophy that if someone, I don't know, maybe someone out there can correct me in the younger generation, but I've gotten a sense from the younger generation that they view a phone call, like literally making the phone ring, as rude. I've had a
Yeah.
few people say this to me, right? And my thought around the phone ringing is that if you really need me, you will make the phone ring, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not rushing to check the email. I'll get to the text when I get to it. But if there's something dire, you will make the phone ring, and then I will, I'll get that and be able to talk to you. And I remember talking to some young folks about that, and they were like, "Ew, no, we don't want the phone to ring. It's rude."
Yeah, people, younger generation, because I'm not an ageist at all, and I actually have a lot of friends that are much younger than me,
Oh, I
and
love it.
I'm one of the only people. They're like, I answer the phone for you. I call and they're like, hello, like people don't call each other anymore. I mean, my friends and older, because I'm like
Yes,
millennial, but like
yes.
No, younger people, they don't. And I mean, there's so many funny memes about it where it's like
Hmm.
a young person, like they view it as like bomb disposal. Like they don't even want to touch it. Like they think something horrible is going to happen. They just, yeah, they don't make phone calls anymore.
Wow, I really appreciate the difference in generations. And if we can just, like we're doing right now, find humor in it, right? We
Yeah.
won't, we'll be just fine.
So we went on a little bit of a tangent there, but
We know, but we're having so much fun. We should keep doing
when
it.
you finished the book,
Hmm.
how did you come about deciding on the title? Can we
Oh,
dive
yes.
into the title?
We can, and I will tell you, there was a lot of discussion around the title because, like anyone who knows me personally, when they heard the title of the book, they were shocked. They were like, "Tori, I've never heard you use, a bad word."
Word.
So, I was like, "Well, I mean, you can find bastard in a dictionary. It just technically means, the parents were
Illegitimate
not."
son of.
Yeah, the parents weren't married when they had the child. That's really the essence of it. But while I recognize that the title is for a lot of people uncomfortable, it was intentional because the book deals with identity, it deals with labels, it deals with transformation, and so many experiences and challenges within that help a person become the best version of themselves, right?
Are you
So,
the no-name bastard?
say that again.
Are you the no-name bastard?
So, okay, we would have to like pause the episode right now. You'd have to cut away and say, spoiler alert. Um,
Okay. I'm just
but
sitting here like, wait a minute, I get it.
but I will tell you this. Anyone who decides to pick this book up and read it, they will know why it is titled No Name Bastard before they finish the first chapter.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very telling.
Okay.
But it's not what you think it is. I will tell you that. It is the people who have figured it out, they're like, I did not expect that.
Oh,
So I don't want to spoil it, but
okay.
I will tell you, it's not what people think it is on the surface.
Okay. All right, good.
Yes.
Okay. So I like to visit rock bottom moments with all of my guests. You shared one, obviously, right at the beginning of the episode when we were talking about, you changing your name.
Right.
Would you say that that's like the biggest one, or is there any others that that you think really contributed to like changing the trajectory of your career and life path?
Yes. Wow, that's a really good question, Megan. How much time do we have left? I've had quite a few moments that were, I would say, just transformational, either personally or professionally challenging. And of course, we talked about the name change one, and that one, that was, I mean, that was definitely a moment. But chapter three, so I don't want to spoil it for people, but chapter three, the story where the book started, that was the first experience I can remember having in my life that I did not feel like the same person afterwards. It was pretty life altering. And here's the crazy thing. The experience in chapter 4 arguably was worse.
Okay.
So, and I will tell you, I don't want to spoil the book for people, but there's a death. There's a death. And it was a traumatic, almost like something out of a movie. It was that traumatic.
So it was
And
a sudden.
yeah, and I was up close and personal, like just a lot of trauma with that one. So, but even with that, chapter 3 was life altering, and so many years after that were not, they just weren't the same. They weren't the same. And then I had to get to a space where I recognized that when you are holding on to pain and anger and frustration, I didn't realize, because it's almost like when you're carrying a weight, it just becomes a normal part of
Yeah.
what you're doing, right? You don't realize, like you walk around with your backpack on all day and it's just like, oh, I'm just carrying the backpack. And then at the end of the day, you take it off and you're like, oh, I feel so much lighter. I forgot I was carrying a backpack, right? So I was carrying a weight that was literally weighing down my chest. And if I could just give the picture of something wrapping up and growing weeds around your heart, that's what was happening. And I didn't realize it. And then when I finally let go, Megan, all of that weight, all of that pressure, all of that anger, all that unforgiveness, all that sadness, hurt, frustration, they're words, but they have real weight. And I'm glad that I recognized it when I did and made that transformation, because honestly, I don't know what type of woman I would have become. Like everything in my past says that Tori should be a statistic. And I mean, the reality is all of us to some degree are a statistic anyway, right? Like whatever chart or data you're looking at, we are a statistic to some degree. But I truly believe if I had not let go of those things, that my life would not look like what it does today. And I'm pretty thankful. I have a very beautiful and blessed life that I'm grateful for.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
How long ago did you finish the book?
So it published on March the 3rd, and it took me 10 months to write it. So technically I was done late last year.
Okay. 10 months, that's pretty good. That's good going to write it in 10 months.
Well, you want to know the fun part?
Uh-huh.
I started writing the book and I was working like traditional American 40 hours a week. And my daughter also asked me to run this marathon with her. So I would get up in the morning, train for the marathon. Like I'm out in the dark running, training for this marathon. Then I'd come back and work, and then I'd write in the evening and write on Saturdays.
You must be so tired, or you must have been so tired. Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing, because I love fitness, that was fine. Although I will say I don't love 18 or 20 miles of running. I still haven't gotten to the point where I love that, Megan. But everything that I was doing was energizing me. So I felt like I could go. And this is why I talk so much about alignment. Because when you're doing things that are in line with who you are and bring you joy and fulfill your purpose, you don't feel drained. Like I couldn't wait to get to doing those things because I was excited to do them.
Completely. When you're doing what you love, it like the energy, it's like an untapped energy source.
Yes.
That's how I am with the podcast. When people are like, how many hours a week do you spend on it? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, and sometimes I sit down and I start working it out and I'm like, yeah, a lot. Like, I love it. I love having these conversations. I love sharing it with people. I love the emails that I get from people. I love putting it on socials. I love making the shorts.
Yes.
I love it. It's community and connection is like one of my core pillars, right? It's like so important to me. And I get to do that with this platform. For me, it's so energizing. I'll be up till, 2 a.m. editing for an episode that's dropping the next day, and it's fine. Like it doesn't, if it was a job I hated and I hated my boss and whatever, it wouldn't be fine. It
Absolutely.
would not be fine.
No, I used to hear people say, I got so engrossed and I was so excited, I forgot to eat. And I was like, oh, I don't know what it feels like to forget to eat. But now I do. Now I get it. Like when you're in the zone and you're doing the work and it's so fulfilling, you don't think to eat. And then all of a sudden your stomach is like, can you please feed me? And then you go get something to eat. Or even still, like for me, I'm like, okay, I think I can go a little bit longer and then I'll grab something. So
yeah, and even like going to the bathroom, right?
yes,
It's the same. When I'm editing a podcast, like if I don't sit down and like, pee and like make a sandwich or something before, I'll be like, oh my God, I've been here for like 5 hours. I have to stand up. I need to like go for a walk and drink something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Megan, we have to say, okay, listeners, we're having real talk. We're talking about eating sandwiches, peeing. We're having too much fun today. I love it.
Yeah. And I also, I did cross country in school, like in high school. And a half marathon is kind of after that distance,
Yeah.
I don't think our bodies are supposed to do much more than that. Like I've done a couple half marathons, and so many people are like, "Oh, you did cross country. How many, like what marathons have you run?" And I'm like, "None. I have no interest. Like the way that what it does to your joints, and like I used to
Oh my
get
goodness.
after 10 miles, I just get blisters. Like and there's no perfect shoe or sock or blister pad, whatever. Like after 10 miles, my feet have blisters and it hurts and I stop. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my gap.
speaking from a person who has run a marathon, I cannot disagree with anything
Yeah.
that you just said. And I'm going to tell you why. As much as I love fitness, for many, many years, people would ask me to run marathons. And I would say, no, why? The first person to run a marathon, of course, this is a legend, passed down through history. I wasn't there. The first person to run a marathon died.
Yes.
I said, who thought it was a good idea to turn this into an event? They died. So that was my reason. I was like, no, thank you. Well, my daughter's college is in Massachusetts. The Boston Marathon runs through her college. And she was so inspired. And she's like, Mom, I want to run a marathon. I was like, good for you. And then I followed up with, how can I support you? Megan, I thought she would say sneakers or,
Yeah.
like give me, something to help monetarily. And I was like, I'm on board for that. And she said, I want you to run it with me. And I paused, I took a deep breath, and I said, okay, but this is not going to be a tomorrow thing. Like I said, I need time. So I trained for over a year before I did it. And then after the race, she was like on cloud nine. She was ecstatic. And I was miserable. I said, I feel like I'm dying. Why do people do this?
Yeah.
It was awful. It was so awful. And to all the marathon runners out there who love it, hats off to you. That was not me for the first one. So, I mean, I could barely walk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, it hurts so much.
everything hurt. Like the only thing that didn't hurt was my teeth. That's it. Everything else hurt. So I got to like 48 hours. She asked me immediately. She said, Mom, can we do another one? I said, pump the brakes. I literally put my hand out and I said, pump the brakes. I'm not there. So after 48 hours, the pain starts to subside and people talk about runner's high. I'm not quite sure what that is.
Childbirth, right? Like a year later, you don't remember the pain.
Yes, maybe that's what it was. And I said, I'll do another one. I said, but it's going to be several months away. And I will tell you at that one whether or not that will be the last one because I'm just not sure yet. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sold. So we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, I grew up in London, and like the London Marathon is arguably one of the most like viewed marathons. It's so amazing. I always loved watching it, and I've got
Yeah.
a really good friend. He was one of my first podcast guests. Actually, he was like episode 4 or 5, and his personal brand is like he is a runner. His family's
wow.
runners, and the company that I worked at before COVID, we got him in. And he like we got him tickets, and him and his crew have run the London Marathon like so many times. And
Wow.
it's like that's like his personal brand, like, and you live it and you breathe it. And he actually raised a ton of money because he for the Boston Marathon after the bombing, that like just because he loves running so much,
That's awesome. Yeah.
when the bombings happened there, it like he was like, oh my God, why would anyone do this? Because training for like running a marathon, it's like hard enough. Can you imagine being right at the finish line?
Oh my goodness.
Like the trauma. So
Yes.
he raised, I don't even know, millions.
Wow.
Got people around the world and raised tons of money. So I'll send you the link to his episode. It was really powerful. So
Yes. Maybe he will inspire me to enjoy this process more.
yeah, well, he has a company and he takes people on runs. Like they do the Great Norse Run, like in Scandinavia, and they go see the
Oh
Northern
wow.
Lights. You run all day, like yeah, he loves it. So I'll send you his stuff if you need
Okay.
inspo.
I'm inspired just hearing about him.
Yeah, he's a very inspiring guy. But I mean, yeah, like I love running, I love fitness, and there is nothing there's no exercise that I have found that hits you with the high afterwards like running. Nothing. Not CrossFit, F45,
Hmm.
all of it. I love all those things, but there's
Yes.
something about a runner's high that like if I'm in a bad mood, if I put on my running shoes and just do even if it's just like a 3 to 5K,
Yeah.
I feel so much better afterwards. It's like it's an
Yeah.
energy shift, instant.
I call it moving meditation
Yeah.
because I can clear my head out during that time, and I don't listen to music or anything while I'm running. So it's just me, the pavement, and my mind, and we go for it.
Oh, I have my playlists that I've curated through the years, my running playlists, and I just put them on and I just go. But I can when people ask if they can run with me, I'm like, no. That is my time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, so your daughter is very privileged that you agreed to do that with her. That's amazing.
She knows I love her. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was another we'll just say evidence of it because everyone else on earth that asked me got to know.
I mean, I'm just thinking right now, I'm so glad that my niece and nephew are so much younger, but if one day one of them says that to me,
Get ready.
I mean, even my 3-year-old nephew is like, "You gonna come sit next to me?" And I'm like, oh, "Okay." Comparison with them, I don't know what I would do. So
Get
yeah,
ready, Megan. They may ask.
you know. So, with all of your wisdom, that you've accumulated throughout your life and everything that's gone into the book and all the lessons that you have been able to put in the book and sort of teach to people, what advice would present day you now give to yourself at your lowest point?
Wow. I would tell Tori, and this is good for anyone else who's in a space where they feel like it's just hard. My advice is to embrace the challenge. The more you try to push it away, the more you try to run from it, the more you try to ignore it, the longer it will take you to get through it. So if you can embrace it and learn from it while you're in that process, not only will you get through it more quickly, you'll be stronger when you're on the other side of it. So my life philosophy now, which is part of the reason why I agreed to do another marathon, my life philosophy now is don't wait for the challenge, go find it.
Ooh,
Do the thing that is hard. Yeah, do the thing that is hard and uncomfortable because it keeps you sharp, it keeps you ready, and you are going to grow. It is inevitable. You will be a stronger, better person after it's done. And we see that very easily in physical fitness, right? Like, I expect if I lift weights that I will be stronger. If I run, I will be a faster runner. I'll have more stamina as a runner. Like the physical changes that we expect to see in fitness, they're no brainer to us. They're very clear. We don't translate that to the emotional and I'll even say intellectual side. Like being able to find those challenges and those things that push us out of our comfort zone, either intellectually or emotionally, it sometimes requires to tap into our faith and really be able to get over that hurdle.
yeah.
Those are the things that are game changers. So that's my advice to younger Tori or to hard moment Tori or to the people who are listening who are in that space or just want to get better. Because I'll add this: the point of getting better is not just for the sake of me being a better person. It's because it gives me an opportunity to help someone else. Right? Like if there's someone coming behind me who's struggling, or if there's someone in my circle of influence that's struggling, and what typically happens is you become stronger. There's folks who look to you as a pillar and they lean on you for support, wisdom, encouragement, whatever the case may be. And when you're able to stand, you can support way more people.
Yeah, that's actually the kind of rationale behind coaching, which has obviously become a super saturated industry now. But they say
Hmm.
the right coach for you is someone who's just 2 or 3 steps ahead of where you want to be, right?
Hmm.
So it's someone who's literally walking the path that you're walking, but they're just a couple steps ahead of you, right?
Right.
They've done just that they're just helping to pave the way for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
completely.
that makes total sense to me. And not only are they just a few steps ahead, they aren't so far removed from where you are that they can remember how to help you to get there.
Exactly. So for anyone who is like looking for coaching or oftentimes therapy as well, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
way to gauge it. Like, does this person have similar lived experience to me?
Mm-hmm.
Do they understand the path that I'm looking for, right? Like when someone's
Right.
like, "Oh, I need a coach or I need a therapist," and then they go and they get referrals from people and the referral doesn't resonate because it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're in a different country or like the price range is like just totally out of budget and like the
Right.
person is like it needs to be relatable, right? So it's about like that lived experience completely. So
Yeah, I get it. I could see where that makes sense logically, but even from a space of connection, right? Like not being so far along that they can't even relate to where you are anymore. I think that would be important as well.
yeah, completely.
So,
Okay, well, thank you so much. If people want to find you and buy your book, or if they just want to chat with you, if you are
yeah.
open to that, so I've had guests that have been like, I don't want people to talk to me. So it's totally up to you. How should
Yeah.
people connect with you?
Well, fortunately, I love people.
Okay.
So I'm on the socials at Tori DaCosta Leadership. So if you just do at Tori DaCosta Leadership, you find me on the socials. You can do toridacosta.com and that'll take you straight to my website. It's also journeystone.com, so whichever you prefer. And it's pretty easy to remember No Name Bastard.
Yeah.
So it's in all of the major bookstores, any bookstore that is carrying books, and it's a hardcover, so it will last you a very long time. And it's also available on Kindle, so you can get a digital
Yes.
version. And we have the audiobook out as well. So whether you like Apple Books or Spotify or Audible, you pick your platform. It is there for you.
And you did it? You are the narrator?
You know what? No, I'm not the narrator, but I picked a narrator who I'm just going to say she did a better job than I would have. That's why I picked her.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah, she did a phenomenal job.
Okay. Well, everything that you just said will be in the show notes if anyone didn't have a chance to write that down, or if you're driving or walking or whatever. How to contact Tori will all be in the show notes. So
Nice.
thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to. I have a Kindle, so I'm probably gonna download your book today. So
Yes, do that and enjoy North Carolina. And I will be in touch because I want to hear what you think about chapter 3.
yes, yes, absolutely. Perfect. Okay, thank you so much, Tori.
All right. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Career Congregation. I hope it gave you something to think about or inspired you in some way. If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to like, subscribe, or share this episode with someone you think it might resonate with. Every bit of support helps. If you know someone who you think would make a great guest, please send them my way via the link in the show bio. And if you'd like to support the show and the work that I do, you can buy me a coffee via the coffee link also in the show bio. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week for another conversation about all things career.